that supports us all, our environment. The World Environment Day, which we celebrate every year on the 5th of June, has a purpose to address the pressing issue of plastic pollution and works towards a cleaner and healthier planet for all. Mr. Vivek Lingdo, a senior project associate of the Meghalaya Climate Change Center, while talking to us, explains how to innovate, collaborate, and ultimately end plastic pollution. Talking to him is Dr. Bonnie M. Nicol. World Environment Day is celebrated every year on the 5th of June since the year 1972 as designated by the United Nations. This is a day to evoke the people's love for the environment and to address the challenges our planet Earth is facing. It acts as a principal vehicle for the encouragement of awareness and action for the protection of our environment to build a greener future. Hello, dear listeners. I'm Dr. Bonnie M. Nicol, your anchor, welcoming you all to our special World Environment Day program as we communicate the challenges of plastic pollution and why is there so much urgency to beat plastic pollution. So let us all go on an educative and informative environmental tour with a very dynamic and passionate environmentalist, Mr. Vivek Lingdo. Let me introduce Mr. Vivek to our listeners. Well, Vivek Lingdo is currently working as Principal Project Associate in the Meghalaya Climate Change Center, which is the state nodal agency for climate change. The center focuses on generating state-specific scientific knowledge on climate change, which is used in building capacities and generating awareness among various stakeholders. A very warm welcome, Mr. Vivek, to our studios.
Thank you very much for having me.
While discussing plastic pollution, it is important to focus on the impact, explore the potential solutions, and our dynamic environmentalists will also emphasize on the detrimental effects of plastic on the ecosystems as well as on human health, dwelling on the importance of reducing plastic consumption, improving waste management, and developing sustainable alternatives. So we look forward to a challenging and insightful deliberation ahead. Today, we are facing a tide of plastic waste choking our ecosystems, harming human health. Plastic pollution is an alarming environmental concern in Meghalaya. So at the very outset, sir, can you describe the scale of the effect of plastic pollution in our state of Meghalaya?
The reports that are saying that there are some documented reports which mentions that the state of Meghalaya produces about more than 500 tons of plastic waste every year. So that is the scale of what we are producing as of now. So approximately 500 tons of plastic waste per year.
So what are the issues Meghalaya faces regarding plastic pollution?
There are several issues that the state faces concerning plastic pollution, but most importantly, if we look at how the topographical character of the state is, so it makes it very difficult. The hilly terrain of the state complicates waste collection and management. So this leads to plastic accumulation in water bodies and public spaces. And then secondly, if we look at the infrastructure, so we have inadequate waste management infrastructure. So there is no proper waste segregation that is being done. So recycling facilities, these results in disposal of plastic waste. And I think there is a lack of very strict laws. So the enforcement gaps is there. Despite there is a ban on plastic waste, single-use plastic, but the enforcement has been inconsistent, allowing continued use and distribution of prohibited items. So these are the major issues that the state
You've mentioned some of the challenges. Well, we shall dwell more into the challenges later. What you mentioned, yes, it's the topography and the location as well. And the river Umkra in Shillong, is the major victim of rampant pollutant discharge and encroachment very much. Well, plastic pollution has risen exponentially in the last decades now, amounting to some 400 million tons per year. That is, we're talking about globally, and a figure that is set to double by 2040, and that is indeed alarming. And we are here today to find out ways and means to be able to combat this menace of plastic pollution. Well, we are all aware that we humans have the right to enjoy nature, and it is not unfettered, but it is coextensive with the duty to protect it. The Article 21 of the Constitution also safeguards the fundamental right of a healthy environment. Would you like to highlight, or spotlight maybe more on the challenges of plastic pollution?
The major challenge that we also see that why plastic pollution is such a big problem is I think there needs to be a behavioral change. So I think that is a big challenge that we all see, and shifting public habits away from plastic use requires sustained education and accessible alternatives. So these are some of the things that should be encouraged. People's behavior should change. So I think this is also highlighted in the Government of India's Mission Life, the lifestyle for environment, which focuses on how we should change our lifestyle and make sure that it is in line with the environment and how we safeguard the environment. So that is one thing that I feel that the behavioral change of people should come out.
I agree, that's very important.
And then there is the economic factor. We don't have affordability and something that is readily available like plastic. So that is something that is also a challenge. Alternatives are not available, which are more affordable than plastics. We see plastic as being a very cheap usage and it's readily available in the market. And also we need to have a very strict monitoring. I mentioned earlier enforcement gaps. So monitoring and compliance is a big challenge, but we need to ensure that there is constant monitoring in the use or in these laws that have been put forward. So there has to be a constant monitoring in ensuring that there is no
implemented in a proper way.
Yes, the laws are implemented in a proper way so that we can curb the ban of single-use plastics.
And there has to be a follow-up also. Sometimes, I think people just become complacent and,
Right, I think Meghalaya has made commendable efforts to tackle plastic pollution in general. And then there are ongoing challenges nonetheless. But then these challenges, they require adequate infrastructure and public engagement and to ensure that we do have this plastic-free environment.
Well, for decades now, we humans have relied on the convenient usage of plastics, like you mentioned, without even considering their long-term impact. And that is what has come to this situation, whereas, we have to find out solutions to this problem before it even gets further. So within these challenges lies an immense opportunity to innovate, to collaborate, and ultimately to end plastic pollution. So should we now talk about the interventions, to reduce plastic pollution in our state or even the Northeast as a whole? And how do we tackle this issue?
Well, the government has taken several steps to ensure that there is a curb on plastic pollution, and we've seen that legislatively they've also banned plastics and including items below 120 microns in thickness. So there is a legislative policy already in place, and then there are awareness campaigns that is being done. Of recently we can also talk about in 2024 there is a super campaign. It's called super is short for single use plastic eco recycling. So this campaign initiated in 2024. It's an initiative by the My Meghalaya My Pride and Green Ammo in collaboration with the Directorate of School Education and Literacy, where they've constructed the school toilets through these single use plastics. They've made these. So this has been also done by the government. And then infrastructure development, I think the government is now looking into constructing a state of the art factory which produces starch based bags and bottles. So I think the CM recently announced
jute bags,
yes. These are starch based bags and bottles. So I think the CM recently announced this, that there's a huge amount of money that is being allocated in this state of the art factory. And so we see this infrastructure development coming up also. And then we have the community engagement, where a lot of these communities have by themselves taken up. If I take the example of the village of Morenkaneng, they have proactively banned single-use plastics. So this demonstrates that grassroots level can also, you don't have to wait for the government, you can take decisions at the grassroots level, and communities can come up with these initiatives and ban from their end and not wait for an enforcement to come and check. So these are something that they can be done, and then through awareness, something like this program and other awareness in schools and colleges can also provide a lot of information to the people.
Well, developing sustainable alternatives is one of the most important strategy to reduce plastic consumption. So, as an environmentalist, how would you advocate for the development and adoption of biodegradable and compostable materials as alternatives to plastic?
I think they're an excellent choice to start with, to use something that is biodegradable, which causes very minimal, almost zero harm to nature, and they're also being used by the general public. So I think if you look at how the olden communities in Meghalaya, how they've used leaves and cotton bag for carrying to the market. We have the playo and the slat. They've been used all this while. They've been using for packing and either as their lunchbox as to the farm or to the fields where they cultivate or in picnic nowadays. So we still have few people who use these leaves for packing, and then they are biodegradable. And if we make other things out of these materials, it's very essential and can be a great problem solver to this menace of plastics.
And I think if I may add, it could also help in the employment.
Oh yes, definitely. It'll generate a lot of employment, and then there are initiatives under these entrepreneurship. It can give rise to a lot of entrepreneurship and give businesses to a lot of small industries, small medium industries. So yes, a lot of potential is there.
So from plastic pollution to solution, Mr. Vivek, can you highlight some of the innovative strategies? Yes, we've talked about some of them, but what do you think in today's world would you classify as the very innovative strategies to combat this menace of plastic pollution?
To begin with, we can start with off by saying that there should be a polluters pay principle. Number one, I mean, something innovative is that is first you have to put a fine on people who pollute. I think that is first. That I mean, it's not innovative, but it's something that I think the government has been mulling, or there has been talks that polluter pay principle should be implemented. Also, there could be incentives for people who are against pollution and work for the betterment of the environment.
Who maintain plastic-free zones.
Yes, all these things can help. You create an atmosphere, an environment where people are incentivized for helping the government or for making sure that there is minimal or there is waste segregation or
that will trigger the behavioral
so that
change.
Yes, that will trigger behavioral change in general. So what we've seen in other countries is also they've done something similar, and they try to incentivize communities and ensure that this has led, I mean, they've seen results this incentivization has brought into, and there's a lot of positivity in the people when they see such an incentive. So there are incentives being done for other resources to curb plastic pollution. That can be also another way of approaching this issue. And when we talk about another incentives or innovative, we can talk of how communities, we've already been seeing communities, I mean, there are these tourist destinations, especially when we see tourism. Our state is a very heavily tourist dependent state. Yes, tourist spots. And then you have also people coming in and bringing a lot of plastics with them as carry bags or something. So again, when they come in, there could be a tourist fee or a deposit where you use that to ensure that, I'm not saying that only people in the state they contribute to pollution, but then also people coming from outside the state. Yes, so we can also have something where we put on their pollution. So we've seen there are videos circulating social media where you see them throwing out of their vehicles, just discarding. So I think something that can also be as innovative, not as innovative, but then something that can be put in place to curb plastic pollution. I would also like to mention here that our Honorable Chief Minister has announced that the 39th National Games that will be hosted by Meghalaya, it would be a plastic free. So this is the plan to host a completely biodegradable sporting event.
So that is also one of the very innovative strategy that could also follow up with the forthcoming activities, not just sports, but many other activities of the state. Recently, Meghalaya got the Green Deposit Scheme to curb plastic waste as part of the community-led tourism infrastructure scheme. So could you enlighten us further on this, because this is also very much a part of the innovative strategy taken up by the government?
The Green Deposit Scheme is the initiative that the government has taken. Refers to deposit that tourists will have to make, and this will be refunded when they have not littered or anything. And if it is seen that they have littered, so this money will be used to ensure that there is a cleanup of the
utilized
for the waste that they have generated. So it's similar to the things that other countries have done. For example, like the host country for the World Environment Day. So they've also done something very similar. It's called the disposable cup deposit system. They've only done this for disposable cups in Korea. The Republic of Korea is the host country for this year's World Environment Day, and the province is Jeju. And in Jeju province, they have this disposable cup deposit where when you go and get a cup of coffee or something, so you also pay a deposit fee. So it could be, suppose for example, 1 rupee you pay over the charges of the coffee, and you get back that 1 rupee the moment you dispose of that disposable cup. So that 1 rupee comes back to you. So it's something similar that what we are doing with the tourists coming into the state with the green deposit initiative of the government of Meghalaya.
So that's also an innovative strategy. Well, one of the key intervention to combat plastic pollution is collaboration and partnerships. So could you emphasize the need for collaboration between governments, NGOs and individuals, communities to develop and implement effective solutions?
It's very important. I mean, this is a collective effort and it's an issue that we all face. So it's evident that all sections of society, including the government, needs to come together to ensure that we tackle the issue collectively. This is what we say, that, we need to join hands together and collaborate together. And we've seen that. We've seen school students come up with NGOs and working together. So the government also working with NGOs. For example, I've given the example of the so stakeholders come together and they work together for a cause that is important. And we see that plastic menace is something that it's not only seen in the environment now. We also have microplastics coming inside the human body. So we are facing this issue is a very big issue now. But the thing is that the problem may be big, but if we join hands together, this is a problem that we all can solve.
What you just mentioned takes me to the next question, to how plastic pollution can contaminate food and water sources, further exposing humans to harmful chemicals and pollutants.
Plastics, when it is thrown into the open, it mixes with a lot of the soils and water, so they tend to break into microplastics, and through many fresh drinking water, tap water, they enter into the system. So we also see a lot of food and drinks, they have these chemicals. The chemicals in the plastic, they are released, so they enter into the human system and affect. So we've seen them entering into a lot of the respiratory system. So a lot of these plastics which are thrown in the open, they do mix and then they end up entering the human system. So it is important that addressing again comes back to the management of these plastics.
So if we just sum up, it's all about enhancing circularity by promoting more sustainable consumption and production across the entire plastic value chain, and engaging consumers as well in addressing plastic pollution to influence the market and to inspire behavioral change. So I think the key word here is behavioral change. Once everyone realizes and takes it in a positive way, I think we can bring a change. So what all you said, it offers us a message of hope and optimism, emphasizing that by working together, we can create a more sustainable future with reduced plastic pollution and healthier planet. Now coming to the crux of our conversation, well, this year's World Environment Day and the theme is combating plastic pollution. So would you brief us on this year's theme and its significance?
Every year, globally, I think you've mentioned this earlier also, we produce about more than 400 million tons of plastic. And plastics is found from the deepest ocean to the highest mountains. And again, microplastics is something that is also a big issue now. But if you see, plastic pollution is one of the most fixable environmental problems. And with concerted action, we can always change this scenario. And if you look at this year's host country that I've mentioned earlier also, they've shown very remarkable incentives in tackling plastic waste. And the celebrations are centered today. You go back and we've heard this before also, but again, United Nations Environmental Program is saying that, you have to ensure that there is a simple framework for ensuring how do we curb, how do we beat plastic pollution. That's the theme. And they've come down to these 5 R's. You refuse single-use items such as plastic bags and straws. You reduce the amount of plastic you purchase. Choose products with minimal or no plastic packaging. Reuse durable items whenever possible. You carry a refillable water bottle. Choose cloth over plastic. Recycle properly. Know your local guidelines. Clean and sort your plastics. And rethink how we design, produce and consume plastic. Advocate for refillable systems, biodegradable alternatives and a true circular economy. So this is something that they have been highlighting again and again. And by working together, by refusing, reducing, reusing, recycling, and rethinking, we can create a cleaner, healthier planet for ourselves and for generations to come.
Right. And getting into your field of specialization, that's you're working on climate change. So, how does plastic pollution impact the climate change?
The climate change is mostly concerned with how the impacts in the changing of the climate. But I think plastic does not directly contribute to climate change. However, the production may, because there is emission of pollution in the production of these plastics. So in the production of plastics, yes, they contribute to climate change in the emissions of the factories. But plastic as a product may not directly contribute to climate change. But yes, it does impact the environment, which again then has issues. For example, if we have a lot of plastics in the open ground, so that reduces the chances of vegetation, and vegetation is necessary if we look at how we need sequestering of carbon dioxide. So maybe in that way it does impact the mitigation process or the adaptation process to climate change. So how do we adapt and how do we mitigate can be affected by the pollution of plastics.
Indirectly.
Indirectly, yes, it does contribute to climate change.
Well, so we mentioned that creating awareness could definitely play a crucial role in combating plastic pollution. So, are there any awareness programs or interventions involving empowering the individuals and the community, more so with the youth and community?
Like I've mentioned earlier, I think the initiative by the government of India, the Mission Life, the lifestyle for environment, is something that has been propagated and is being advertised a lot by the government, and they are ensuring that this is something that each state has to follow, and they are trying to create an institution to institutionalize this initiative. The state of Meghalaya also has the state action plan on climate change, wherein we have these activities which will contribute to Mission Life, and we hope that there will be a more robust mechanism to implement the Mission Life, wherein combating plastic is one of the biggest challenge, is also addressed in this entire Mission Life. So like you said earlier, that behavioral change is something that can bring a prominent change in combating plastics, and Mission Life is that one major initiative by the government which can bring a lot of change into the problems that we are facing today. So the problems are simple, or the problems may be significant, but these initiatives which are highlighted here, there are 75 actions under 7 themes, and these are very simple actions that can be taken up by any individual or community. So this is something that is being made aware to everyone. So a lot of efforts is being carried out. I think the government at district level as well, they have these programs of awareness conducted at schools. The idea is to have the understanding and the knowledge about Mission Life and how it works and how it can be taken up by everyone.
Everyone can be a part of it.
Yes.
Well, to wrap up our discussion, a quick message from our resource person.
My message on what you can do today is, firstly, you can join an organization or any NGO where you can be part of their activity to clean the street, a park or river bank. Every plastic removed is what can make a difference, and we need to educate each and every family members, friends. Share your facts and educate them about the impacts of plastics that can has on our lives and how we can reduce them. So education is something that we can always be part of, and support businesses and policies. We need to also come up with the government, work with them, like we said earlier. So we need to support them, and simple pledges can also make a big difference. So if you make these personal pledges of ensuring that we use less of these environmentally degrading materials like plastic, so we can help and inspire others to also make similar pledges. So like I said earlier, environmental pollution through plastic is not only an environmental issue, it's affecting our health, social and economic aspects as well. But this is something that we can solve. It's not something that we can't solve. So that's the major highlight, that it's something that we can solve, and by working together we can create a cleaner, healthier planet. This is not just for us but for generations to come, and this is all we can do for our own part.
Very true, Mr. Vivek. It is actually a wake-up call for all of us to be responsible citizens and save our planet Earth. And so, listeners, we've come to the end of this very interesting and important conversation. I take this time to thank our resource person, Mr. Vivek Lingdo. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and enlightening us on this very impending issue of the menace of plastic pollution. Well, we do need to save our planet Earth, and environmental sustainability is the responsibility to conserve natural resources and protect global ecosystems to support health and well being now and in the future. Let us pause for a moment and think about the impact we are having on our planet Earth, and remember that there is no planet B. There's no option. So let's nurture nature for a better future. No plastic, no problem. A beautiful thought for all of us. Let us remind ourselves that nature is not a place to visit, it is our home. Thank you so much once again for joining us. I'm sure you have been enlightened and sensitized on how to combat the menace of plastic pollution and save our planet. Until next time, this is your host, Dr. Bonnie M. Nichols, signing off, wishing you all an advanced, happy, eco-friendly, and action-oriented World Environment Day 2025. Take care, go green, and stay healthy. Listeners, that was an interview with Mr. Vivek Lingdo, a senior project associate of the Meghalaya Climate Change Center, on how to end plastic pollution. Talking to him was Dr. Bonnie M. Nicol. And now, listeners, before we wind up our Science Magazine program this morning, let's go ahead and listen to some science snippets. Scientific research is being conducted constantly, and as a result, new discoveries are coming to light every day. Some of these even have the potential to change the world. Let us go ahead and have a look at some of the scientific breakthroughs that have flown under the radar. Pancreatic cancer vaccine. An mRNA vaccine has shown promise in a trial in patients with pancreatic cancer. The vaccine can stimulate a long-term immune response that reduces the risk of cancer recurrence after surgery, says Forbes. The findings were published in the journal Nature, while the trial was conducted with only 16 patients, and results should be looked at with caution. 8 people responded positively to the treatment. The vaccine works by targeting genetic mutations found in pancreatic cancer and alerting the immune system to recognize and attack the tumor. This leads to the production of cancer-fighting T cells. Whether or not the T cells will last and extend a person's life requires further study to confirm. Although they have made significant progress in improving outcomes in many of the other cancers with newer waves of cancer treatments, these have not had much of an impact on pancreatic cancer. Designing a sunlight reactor. Scientists have created a prototype reactor that can harvest hydrogen fuel using only sunlight and water. Green hydrogen, a climate-neutral process that uses renewable energy sources to create hydrogen, has been a growing conversation among renewable fuel experts. However, only 1% of all hydrogen production can be described as green because it requires so much renewable energy to create, making the process cost prohibitive. A paper published in the journal Frontiers in Science details a reactor built with photocatalytic sheets that can split water into its elements, that is, hydrogen and oxygen, using the power of the sun. Obviously, solar energy conversion technology cannot operate at night or in bad weather, but by storing the energy of sunlight as the chemical energy of fuel materials, it is possible to use the energy anytime and anywhere. The most important aspect to develop is the efficiency of solar to chemical energy conversion by photocatalysts. Well, listeners, that's all in our Science Magazine program this morning. Tune in again next month on the third Tuesday for the same program.